All right, welcome back to another video. It's been a little while. I've been really busy, but I'm trying to get back to consistently posting videos. So hopefully this is the first step in that direction. Today we're gonna be talking about 5 photography tips for beginners, people who are just starting out on this wonderful journey of photography. So welcome, and hopefully these 5 tips will challenge you a little bit, teach you some things and get you comfortable with your camera. And hopefully in the end, you end up taking some better shots because of it. So let's stop wasting time. Let's get right into it. All right, so tip number 1 today is going to be shooting in automatic mode when you first start. So if you don't know what that means, on your camera, each camera is a little bit different, but they're mostly the same. On your wheel here, your modes wheel, you'll have a little A, or automatic or auto. Essentially what this does is the camera will decide all the settings for you. So all you have to do, if you're shooting especially in automatic focus, all you have to do is point and shoot. Click a button, it's awesome. The camera will decide the exposure, the shutter speed, the aperture. It'll decide all that for you, so you don't have to worry about any of that. You can just go out and have fun, figure out what you like to shoot. Do you like to shoot car photography, landscapes, wildlife, people, so portraits? You can really just find your style, have fun with it, and you don't have to stress and worry about not being in the right settings or kind of messing up your images because the settings weren't perfect. Cameras can be extremely complicated at first. There's so many settings, it can get overwhelming. That's also awesome. We love the customization of that. But when you're first starting out, it's a lot to handle, and you'll take shots and you'll realize, oh man, the exposure was way too high and the photo is not good because you didn't have the settings right. So don't worry about that at first. Put it in automatic, go out, have a great time, and just shoot what you want to shoot, find your niche, find your style. And then from there, you can go out and later on, when you get a little bit more comfortable with your camera, you can start changing your settings. Definitely recommend doing that. But at first, shoot in automatic. I still, to this day, take photos in automatic. If I don't have time to switch my settings in a quick environment, I'll just shoot in auto. The camera is incredible at detecting what type of settings you should use. The technology is amazing, so take advantage of it. And bonus tip, always shoot in RAW. If you don't know what that means, Google it. Super easy. Change your settings to RAW so you'll get a lot more data in your photos. You'll have a lot more wiggle room after. So a little pro tip. All right, so moving on to tip number 2 is after you shoot in automatic, change your camera to manual and shoot only manual. Once you get comfortable, you'll start understanding what the different settings do. So put it in manual mode and just mess around with things. Do this when you have a lot of time, when you're not in a rush. Don't do this when you're at an event where you need to get that perfect picture. Just sit in your living room, sit in your backyard, and just take a photo, see what it looks like, boost the exposure a bit, see what it looks like. You'll notice how the settings really affect the photo. So if you boost your exposure too high, you'll notice it's blown out with a bunch of white light. All right, you know what that does. Change it back, go change the shutter speed, see how that affects the photo, see what type of settings do what to your photos, and really understand the concept behind them and how they're manipulating the light and your end photo. Once you do this, you'll really understand your camera. You'll get comfortable with your camera in situations that you really want to get a specific shot, like it's raining and you really want to catch those really crisp raindrops. You'll understand that you have to turn up the shutter speed so it really catches those, so the shutter's going really fast, opens and closes really quickly, and you get a sharp image. However, by doing that, you're not letting in a lot of light, so it's opening and closing really quickly. Because of that, you're going to have to increase your exposure to kind of compensate for the lack of light, or you can change your aperture, things like that. But you'll understand what each setting does to the photo, and you'll really be able to see a photo in your mind, know exactly how you want to capture it, and be able to take that photo based on the settings. Whether you're shooting at night, you need different settings than if you're shooting in the morning. If you're shooting something that's moving very fast, a moving subject, you'll have to change the shutter speed, as I said, with the raindrops. There's so many different ways you can manipulate your settings to get a specific image, and once you understand that, you'll really be able to capture those perfect images as you see them in your mind. So tip number 3 today is going to be shooting in different lighting settings, different lit environments, and seeing how that affects your camera and kind of getting good at different environments, because you can't always pick the lighting. If you're in a studio and you have consistent lighting, it's the same all the time, that's awesome, that's a dream. When you're outside, like me, I'm doing a lot of wildlife, a lot of landscapes. You can't pick the lighting that you're in all the time, whether there's clouds or it's a bright sunny day or it's nighttime. It's very different. So, lighting is the basis of photography. The camera's sensor is capturing light and it's kind of just reading it into a photo. So the light really affects it, kind of as I mentioned in tip 2 with the exposure and the shutter speed. So, shoot in different light settings. Go out and shoot in the morning, during sunrise. In the early afternoon, it's going to be different when the sun is beaming. It's right ahead of you, right above you. It's beaming down on you. The sun's very different. The lighting is very different. then shoot at nighttime. And at night, it's going to be very different. There's a very low light. You're going to have to really kind of push the settings of your camera. You're going to notice a lot more noise comes in because you're going to be artificially lighting it kind of with ISO, with your exposure. Shoot in kind of a studio. If you have access to some type of studio, you can try shooting in there, seeing how easy it is to take the settings and have a consistent photo every time. Bring a flashlight. If you're in a darker day or sunset, try and play with a flashlight. Bring artificial light. Try everything, experiment with it, see how the lighting affects your camera, because you're gonna have to get used to shooting different times a day, because it's kind of a different challenge every time you go out and shoot. Tip number 4 today is going to be shooting in different perspectives. So for example, hear me out. Something I used to do a lot of the time, especially when I was first starting out with photography, was shooting a subject. So I would take a friend who would volunteer as a model, or it could be something like a building or a car or this really cool big rock on the beach, and take photos of it and see how many different angles you can take of that subject. So, if it's a rock on a beach, take a photo straight on. Awesome, looks good. That's the photo most people will get. All right, now climb up on the hill and shoot down, from up to down. See how that changes the perspective. Go and shoot from down up, get a little bit more sky in the photo. See how that works. Shoot from both sides or go from behind. Go really far away and zoom in, take a photo from far, and then, come really close and take a close up. And you can even shoot through different things, shoot through some bushes or shoot through a fence. You're gonna be really surprised how many different photos you can take of just that single subject. It's really gonna push you to kind of think outside the box and be creative and just see how many unique photos you can get. So just pick a subject and just go wild, go left, right, up, down, every way you can. And you'll be really, really surprised how many different photos you can get from just thinking outside the box. You're gonna get those photos that not everybody gets. Everyone's going to get that one photo that kind of looks the same with the Eiffel Tower or something like that. But if you walk around, try and find different angles of it, you're going to get those really unique shots, go off the beaten path a little bit, and that's really going to make you stand out and kind of push you as a photographer. And I think this challenge is great because it'll allow you to bring that thought process into everything you shoot. So you'll always start taking these unique photos and pushing yourselves and adjust the lighting. If you shoot from behind this building, maybe the lighting won't be so harsh. If you shoot from the top down, maybe there'll be a larger shadow and that changes the photo. Just really test it out and kind of bring that into your photography and just really get some unique angles and kind of push yourself to be more creative every time you go out and shoot. All right, so final tip today, tip number 5 is going to be editing your photos. And hear me out, overly edited photos, they're not everyone's style. They're certainly not my style. I prefer to try and edit in a very natural way. Every time I take a photo, I see exactly what I'm picturing, and then I'll try and edit the photo to kind of give me exactly how I saw it in that moment. That's just my style. I'm not saying that's right or wrong, it's just me. But by editing your photos, you can see how the different settings will affect the photo. You can change colors, you can change the saturation, the luminance, you can lift the shadows, change the exposure. If your photo wasn't perfectly exposed in camera, that's all right. It's very hard to do that. You can adjust the exposure and you can really just make that photo yours. You can put your own personal style, your own personal stamp on it, and really just start developing your own style of editing. And it can be very basic. You can just change 1 or 2 little sliders and it will be perfect exactly how you want it. And that's awesome. But I think just editing your photos and kind of tweaking them, changing them, polishing them will really kind of bring them to that next level. And one little tip, I always try and get the photo as close as to the picture I have in my head in camera as I can. And then I'll just polish it off with the editing. I don't want to take a photo and enhance it too much. That's just not really something I like to do. I like to try and get as close as I can in camera and then just polish it off a little bit more. So I think, editing is editing platforms or editing softwares are a super useful tool that we should take advantage of. And you don't have to use one that's super expensive. Personally, I use Adobe Lightroom, shout out, love them. But you can use on your phone. There's you can edit photos directly on your Photos app. You can edit through something like Facebook or Instagram. They have options where you can just edit your photos there. There's free ones online you can download into your computer. You don't have to have these fancy equipment. It's just to kind of get the hang of seeing how the settings will affect your style and really just kind of honing in on one style and seeing what you like to shoot and making those pictures in your head come to life. All right, so these were my 5 tips for beginner photographers who are just starting out. I hope you learned something from this video. I hope you enjoyed these tips. Hopefully you could take something that I said and implement it into your photography and take some banger shots. I really hope so. Go out, grab your camera, grab your phone, whatever it is you take photos on, and just go have a blast. If you take photos, please send them to me on Instagram. at The Sneaky Lens. I'd love to see your work. I'd love to see your different styles and photos from across the world. It really keeps me going. It motivates me. It inspires me to keep making content. That's what photography is about for me, is the community behind it. So please don't hesitate to reach out. Drop a comment if there's any videos you'd like for me to make in the future, any more tips I didn't cover today. And like, comment, subscribe. It really, the engagement helps me out so much. So thank you so much for doing that. I hope you have a great day. I'll see you next video. Peace.